Aibon. So in this lesson, we are going to have a look at the speaking tests in Cambridge Book 16. Now, in 15 as well, I showed you a video because I felt it was important for you to see how the entire exam runs. So in this lesson now, first, I'm going to show you a video of how the exam flows for Part 1, Part 2 and Part 3. The credit goes to the official website where I've extracted this video from, and I've extracted it solely for the purpose of teaching students for them to understand how Part 1, Part 2 and Part 3 flows in the exam. Right, so let us have a look at the video.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Phil Smith. Can you tell me your full name, please?
My name is Sausan Hassan.
Thank you. And can you tell me where you're from?
I'm from Syria.
Can I see your identification,
Yes,
please?
sure.
Thank you, that's fine. Now, in this first part, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. Let's talk about what you do. Do you work or are you a student?
I'm a student.
And what subject are you studying?
English literature.
Why did you choose this subject?
Well, I like literature very much, and English is international language, so English literature is one of the best majors I've ever studied, so I like it very much.
What do you hope to do when you finish your studies?
Well, I'm planning to complete my higher studies. I'll be doing an MA, and eventually I'll be doing a PhD to be a professor in English literature.
Now let's talk about weekends. What do you usually do at the weekend?
Well, usually I go to visit my relatives or even friends, but sometimes I stay at home just for if I have exams or something to study, so I just stay at home. But most of my time, actually, I spend it with my friends, going out for to drink something or to have fun, enjoy it.
What do you think you'll do next weekend?
Well, next weekend I have to go to a trip to York, and I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, why?
Well, because I've heard that York, it's a very ancient city, and the Vikings were there, and I like the ancient things and I like history.
Do you enjoy your weekends now more than you did when you were a child?
Well, not really. When I was a child, I just spent all my weekends playing, but now I have lots of concerns. Sometimes I have to stay at home to study, so no, when I was a child, I enjoyed most.
How important is it for you to relax at the end of the week?
Well, it is very important because you just relax out of the whole week because you were studying or working. So you need peace and relax and sometimes to take a great time of sleeping just to prepare yourself for the next week.
Let's talk about music. What sort of music do you usually enjoy listening to?
Well, I like music very much because I'm a singer myself. I like to sing, so I have a great taste of music. I like the classical, I like the Arabic music, and so music is very important. I have to listen to music all the day.
Has the kind of music you like changed over the years?
Well, yes, it changed because I used to listen to the almost it's not slow music, and nowadays it's just in the very fast and sometimes techno, and I don't like this kind of music. I still listen to the music that I liked, and I still have the same CDs, and all the time I listen. I sometimes listen to this music, the new music, but I don't like it. I just like to listen to the music that I liked when I was a child.
Do you prefer listening to live music or recorded music?
Well, recorded. I don't like live music because
Why?
I feel always the singer is not good in live music, so I feel that recorded is better.
Do you think listening to music helps you study?
Yes, I always listen to music when I'm studying. Sometimes my friends make fun of me because I'm not concentrating, but actually it makes me more concentrated.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say. You can make notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes.
Here's some paper and a pencil for making notes. And here's your topic. And I'd like you to describe a special gift or present you gave to someone. All right. Remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Okay. The special gift actually I gave to my mother, and it was a necklace in the Mother Day. And actually, I've been to different shops to search for what am I going to give my mother, because giving her anything is just, you feel it. It's very simple. But I looked for different shops, and I then decided to take a very lovely necklace, and it wasn't that much expensive because I was. I had the money for it, so, and I asked the salesman to wrap it for me in a very colored papers, and I just tried to put the red tie on it, and then I hide it in my. I didn't tell her about it till the party, because we usually make a party for my mother in the Mother Day, so I didn't tell her about it till at the party. And when I gave it to her, she was really happy very much, and she was almost in tears because she really liked it, and she told me, no matter how simple it is, since you think about giving me anything, so that's really great. So I was really happy for really giving her this present, and she's wearing it every time when she goes out, or and she always tell her friends about it. Look what my daughter brought to me in the Mother Day. So I really was proud and happy that she really liked it. Yeah. And so every time I see it, she really she's really proud of it. And
do you enjoy giving gifts?
Yes, I really enjoy. I like even to take gifts, but I enjoy giving gifts to my friends or to the members of my family, because it shows that you are thinking of them and you really care for them.
Thank you. Can I have the booklet and the paper and pencil back, please?
Yes.
We've been talking about a special gift you gave to someone, and I'd like to discuss with you 1 or 2 more general questions related to this. Let's consider first of all giving gifts in families. On what occasions do family members give gifts to each other in Syria?
Well, usually they give gifts on birthdays, in special occasions like, for example, the Eid in my country, and in Christmas time. So, and sometimes if anybody was graduated from college or from school, and somebody who is get out of a hospital and he's now in a very good health, so we usually give them presents and gifts.
Do people tend to spend a lot of money on gifts?
Sometimes, yeah, but it depends on the person that you are giving the gifts, and it depends on your own financial status.
Okay, let's talk about the type of gifts that children give to adults and their families. What sort of gifts do they give?
This is really interesting, because the children always tend to think from their own view, that for example, if a small child is going to give his father or mother a gift, he's going to tend to give him a kind of a toy maybe, or something that the father or the mother won't use, but because the child think that I like this, so I want to give it to my father. So they always give it from their point of view, that because I like this, my father is going to like it. So it's really interesting. The child, it's very simple and sometimes very humble. The gifts.
So at what age do children start to choose gifts for their parents, do you think?
Well, it depends how the parents brought them up. Sometimes I think it's when they start to recognize the real relationships, because when they were before 7 or before 6 years old, they tend not to recognize what does it mean to give a gift or to give, and even they don't recognize the relationships. But after 7, I think they start to recognize and to feel that I need to give a present to my father or mother, as they are giving me, and every time I have an occasion.
So how important do you think giving gifts is within families?
Yeah, it is important, because you always give them the feeling that you are really caring for them, and you really think of them. And whenever you give them things that they like, you feel that you're really all the time thinking of them. And I mean, yeah, I mean, it's also tied up the relationships and makes it more strong. Yeah.
Thank you. Right, let's move on from personal gifts to international gifts, if you want, and talk about international aid. What sort of aid do countries give to other countries?
Well, sometimes it gives the international aids whenever a country is in need for something and the country cannot afford to make it or to bring it. So the other countries will help her, for example, in food aids, and especially in disasters and when something bad happened to this country. So they're going to give it food aids, sometimes medical aids, sometimes psychological aids, as we do, because I work in the Red Crescent, so I know what does it mean to give a psychological aids for sometimes for refugees, or for even to go for the near countries that really need. For example, in my country, we go to Iraq or to Lebanon when the invasion, and so we help them psychologically to just pass and get over this problem.
So what do you think motivates government to give aid to other countries?
Well, it is important because I feel that let us recognize ourselves that at the end we are all human beings and we are living in the same club, and it's like a small village, and we are all members of the same the same land. So I feel it's just really makes the relationships more strong, and it gives you it really lets you feel like you're humanity at the end.
And do you think the aid is always helpful?
Yes, I think so. Because whenever you think of giving aid to other countries, I mean, it's when they are in need, I mean, it's really helpful.
Thank you very much. That is the end of the speaking test.
Thank you.
Right, okay, so I think you have seen a complete test, okay? And that was a part 1, part 2, as well as a part 3, right? So you saw the flow, how the exam flows throughout, right? Starting with the introduction, checking for identification, and then it's like an interview where you ask the candidate about familiar topics. So you saw there were 3 topics, 4 questions each, 12 topics, and then part 2, right? And then after part 2, sometimes 1 or 2 rounding off questions, and then obviously part 3 questions. All right? Okay, so part 1, this part of the test begins with the examiner introducing him or herself and checking the candidate's identification. It then continues as an interview. In the interview, the examiner asks the candidate about himself or herself, his or her home, work or studies, and other familiar topics. Right, so we're going to have a look at study or work with, people you study or work with. Who do you spend most of the time studying or working with? I spend most of the time with a few friends called Madhumini, Romi and Neelam Erandi because I lecture with them and that is where I spend most of my time with them. What kinds of things do you work or study on with other people? Well, usually I work along with other people to develop lessons, to have a look at answering schemes, to have a look at assignments, peer marking. So that's what we work on together. Are there times when you study or work better by yourself? Yes, definitely. So sometimes after 10 o'clock, I sit down to mark assignments or sometimes come up with a new lesson to develop lessons, right? So I think sometimes it's better for me to work alone. Is it important to like the people you work or study with? I think it is, because then you're happy and you can work well. And having good, relationships with your work colleagues could be really important for you to settle and do your job well. And also sometimes you need their help. So I think it's really important. All right, so let's have a look at part 2. So, in this part of the test, you will be given a specific topic to talk about and you will have to read it carefully and speak for 1 to 2 minutes. Remember, you have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say. You can make some notes if you wish. At the end of your preparation time, the examiner would tell you, all right, remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please? So, what's your topic? Right, let's have a look at it. Describe a tourist attraction you enjoyed visiting. You should say what this tourist attraction is, when and why you visited it, what you did there, and whether you think this is a nice attraction. Well, I'd like to talk about a tourist attraction which I enjoyed visiting, and this is the National Museum. Now, when and why I visited this was actually I went here about a few years ago, maybe about more than 10 years ago when I visited this place. I visited it because I wanted to go and see and learn and explore about Sri Lankan history. So actually what I did there was I had a look at, the clothes, the old coins, the statues, and all the different things that were there in the museum. I went there and then I found out that, actually we had an history which was quite important. The kings and the queens, that culture was so different to what we have today. Now, whether I thought this was a nice attraction, yes, I still think it is a nice attraction. Lots of tourists come there to visit and learn about the Sri Lankan culture. And why I like it is because I learned a lot and I understood that through years we really haven't developed as a nation, but we have kind of lost our creativity and the good things that we had within us. So it really gave me an insight to how Sri Lankans lived their lives in the past and their lifestyles and how they exchanged the barter system, exchanging goods instead of using money. So I learned so much. Right, so let's talk more about different kinds of tourist attractions as well as the importance of international tourism in part 3. Looking at different kinds of tourist attractions, what are the most popular tourist attractions in your country? So I think it's the National Museum. Then we've got Sigiriya Rock, which is another tourist attraction. We've got all the national parks, which are also tourist attractions. Alla, specific city, where you've got a lot of tourists coming in and going out. How do the types of tourist attractions the younger people like to visit compare with those that the older people like to visit? I think in Sri Lanka, there's no difference saying younger or older people. It's everyone just likes to go and see tourist attractions. And then I think because tourists come in, I haven't seen that there's an age difference Young or old, they all come to see these places. Do you agree that some tourist attractions, example the National Museum's galleries, should be free to visit? I don't think anything should be free of charge because you need to maintain these places. And when you give it free of charge, the free rider problem is there. So I don't agree that it should be given free. I think it should be charged, and then only people who need to see these places would visit this place. Talking about the importance of international tourism. Why is tourism important to a country? Because it gains an economic benefit. I think Sri Lanka, which is a country which heavily relies on tourism, their main source of income is through that. So it is quite important. What are the benefits to individuals of visiting another country as tourists? So a few benefits are, apart from, just getting the travel experience, firstly, you can learn about other cultures. Secondly, you can learn about the language. You can try different types of food. You can start thinking openly and being able to respect other people coming in from different cultures. Right, so moving on. How necessary is it for tourists to learn the language of the country they're visiting? Sometimes it's not that important because they can speak English. But if you're visiting certain countries, it's important because they don't speak English, and it could be useful for you to learn the language so you can express yourself much more better. Right, we're moving into test 2. Now, as you know, part 1 is there, part 2 is there, and part 3 is there. So part 1, you're going to discuss about familiar topics. Right. Do you have a favorite flower or plant? Yes, I love flowers, and the main type of flower that I like is a rose because it smells really nice and you can see it in different colors. What kinds of flowers and plants? Let me just separate this. What kinds of flowers and plants grow near where you live? So actually, roses do grow in the place where I live. Apart from that, certain types of veggies, certain types of fruit, and then croton and those kind of plumbago, those type of flowers, plants, they grow in my area. Is it important to you to have flowers and plants in your home? Yes, definitely, because I love greenery and I love to see some, color and green outside. So it is really important. Have you ever bought flowers for someone? Yes, I always buy flowers for my mum's birthday, and when I go and see my friends sometimes when they have a newborn baby, definitely I buy flowers for them. Right, so let's have a look at part 2. So in this part of the test, they are going to give you a specific topic and you need to make sure you read it through carefully and cover all these points. You will have to speak for 1 to 2 minutes and you have 1 minute to prepare yourself. You can make some notes if you wish. At the end of your preparation time, the examiner would tell you, all right, remember you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please? Right? So let's have a look at our topic. Describe a review you read about a product or service, where you read about the review, what the product or service was, how satisfied you were with the product or service review, and what you liked or disliked about this product or service review. Okay? So, I actually read about this review online and it was about a store, right? So they were having platters, food platters, and I wanted to order a food platter for my kids. So I went online and I was having a look at all of these websites, and that is when I came across, a platform where they had reviewed about these platters. So Google review is a useful platform. So the product or service, I already told you, it was about a fruit platter. And I was really satisfied because, the review was about not only the positive things, but, areas for improvement in terms of taste and quality, the ingredients. So I was able to get a good understanding when I went on this website because there were so many reviews, right? And these were actually, I felt that they were not just people posting, but, the honest customers, because they had put pictures of it and they were talking about it. So I felt it was really good. Now, what I liked about it was that you could get a lot of ideas about it. But what I disliked about it is, sometimes reliability is the question. Now, I thought they were honest customers, but, you can't guess. So reliability could be a problem. Right. So having a look at more for part 3, we're having a look at online reviews and customer service. Okay. So let's have a look at online reviews. Okay. What kinds of things do people write online reviews about in your country? So mainly it's about their experience when they go to hotels, if they enjoyed the food, clothing. It's usually an experience that they had. Why do some people write online reviews? Because they want to share their positive vibes and sometimes even the negatives, because you don't want people to go and get a bad experience again and again. So they would want to share their experience with the other people. Do you think that online reviews are good for both shoppers and companies? I think it is good. Shoppers get a good understanding of, if this place or product is good or bad. And, the companies get an understanding of how their companies are actually creating a brand image or, their good name. So they can improve if they're not doing so well. And if they're doing something well, they can maintain it. So having a look at customer service, what do you think it might be like to work in a customer service job? I think it would be quite challenging because, different customers have different views, different opinions, and, you're not ice cream to please everyone. So it could be a really tough job. Do you agree that customers are more likely to complain nowadays? I think yes, because they've got more exposure to information and their standards are much more higher than what it was in the past. So you could find more customers complaining nowadays. How important is it for companies to take all customer complaints seriously? I would say it is important because one day I just walked into this service station and, they're kind of a high-end service station. But their service was so horrible that I didn't want to, go back again. So I shared my experience. And what I found was that, the manager was so casual. She was like, oh, okay, can I just have a look at it? She was so lethargic. I didn't feel that they were at all, looking forward to getting any customer service, feedback actually, not service, customer feedback. And even the person who was handling the service, he just came and said, oh, it's nothing much, just a little bit of things. And he absolutely paid the least attention to what I was talking about, okay? So I didn't feel that I had a good experience and I felt that it was just the worst experience that I had. And, I pay them quite a lot. So it's about 50,000 above, right? So I felt, no, I'm not going to go there again. So the word of mouth is not too good, right? So if they don't take their customer complaints seriously, they're going to lose customers in the long run. And their bad word of mouth carries a long way, and that would mean that, their good image is being tarnished. Right, so we're moving into test 3, right? Same way we have part 1, part 2, and part 3. All right, so let's have a look at the topic summer. Is summer your favorite time of the year? Yes, it is, because it's nice and warm and you can enjoy ice cream and you can go out and wear summer clothes, and I love it. What do you do in summer when the weather is very hot? So usually during summer we have a long holiday in the UK. So I like to go sightseeing. enjoy reading a book outside, and then probably eating a lot of ice cream. Do you go on holiday every summer? I wouldn't say every summer. It depends. Sometimes, when I was a student, I didn't have time, so I didn't go on holiday. But as I started working, yes, then I went on holiday because I wanted to go and see things around the world. Did you enjoy the summer holidays when you were at school? Well, during school time, I was obviously in Sri Lanka and it was always hot. It's a tropical country. So I would say yes, we used to go out. We used to go for a movie. We used to go shopping. So it wasn't anything different because we didn't have seasons. It was only the sunny and the rainy seasons. Right, so moving on into part 2. And in this part of the test, you will get a specific card to speak, right? And you would have to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. You will have 1 minute to prepare yourself. Think about what you're going to say, and you can make some notes if you wish. So at the end of your preparation time, the examiner would tell you, all right, remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please? Right? Okay, so describe a luxury item you would like to own in the future, what the item would be that you would like to own, what the item looks like, why you would like to own this item, and explain whether you think you will be able to own this item. Okay, so, well, better know. Let's think about it, okay? So I'm going to talk about a luxury item that I would like to own in the future would be a Bentley car. And, well, this item it's a car, so it's got all the modern features and it's a luxury car. So it's marketed at the high-end income earners. So I would really like to own one. Whether I think I'll be able to own this, I doubt it, but it's like a dream, okay? So you can build up more on your answer, right? I was just giving you an outline. By now, you've done a lot of tests, okay? So you can work on this. Talking more about expensive items. Which expensive items would many young people like to buy? I think here it's more mobile phones and handbags. How do the expensive items that younger people want to buy differ from those older people want to buy? So when they're older, they want a more, they want to buy a good car, they want to buy a good house, and, whereas the younger people want to buy more branded clothes and, a mobile phone, a nice handbag, like things to show off. Whereas the older people would want to buy expensive things to kind of enjoy for themselves, to have a good life. Do you think that people are more likely to buy expensive items for their friends or for themselves? I think people tend to buy more expensive things for themselves because obviously they don't want to spend on other people. Talking about rich people. How difficult is it to become rich in today's world? I think it's very difficult because it's quite expensive. Living costs have increased. And it's quite expensive. So, coming up with a creative idea, coming up with a business or something that you can sell and become really rich is difficult. Even if you're a sportsman, you've got to do a lot of practice and it's very competitive. So I think it's very difficult. Do you agree that money does not necessarily bring happiness? Yes, I do, because money can't buy everything in this world. In what ways might rich people use their money to help society? They would help the poor people, they would run charity organizations, they would donate things for companies in need, and they run CSR projects. So corporate social responsibility is something they look at, so they would be running projects to help the society. All right, so coming to the last test, let's have a look at part 1. We're going to have a look at fast food. What kinds of fast food have you tried? I've tried pizza, McDonald's, KFC, because I love eating them and I love, to try different types of food. Do you ever use a microwave to cook food quickly? Yes, I've used a microwave in the past, but I haven't used it in about 10 years now because I think it's unhealthy. But I have used it before because I want to kind of heat my food quickly and sometimes, make something really quickly like, Maggi noodles. How popular are fast food restaurants where you live? It's not that popular because we don't have a lot of fast food chain restaurants around my place. And a lot of people in my area, they're quite old. So they prefer to eat homemade food. So it's not that popular. Last question. Last question in the sense for part 1, right? When would you go to a fast food restaurant? So I would go to a fast food restaurant like if there's nothing to eat at home, if I couldn't prepare anything, or sometimes, you want to change, then I would go to a fast food restaurant. Right, so part 2, remember here you will get a specific card and you will have to talk about this topic for 1 to 2 minutes. Make sure you touch on all your points and you will have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say. You can make notes if you wish. They'll give you a paper and a pencil or a pen, right? At the end of your preparation time, the examiner would tell you, all right, remember you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please? So let's have a look at the topic. Describe some technology that you decided to stop using. When and where you got this technology, why you started using it, why you decided to stop using it, and how you feel about your decision. So that is up to you to do it, okay? Because this is the last test in the book, right? And I'd like you to do it. So moving on into the questions for part 3, right? Let's talk about computer games. What kinds of computer games do people play in your country? I think they play a lot of these shooting games and car racing games, right? So they play these kind of computer games. Why do people enjoy playing computer games? Because, there are these groups and children want to be a part of it. And some believe that it's a stress relief as well. Do you think that all computer games should have a minimum age for players? I think so, because there's certain stuff which are violent, but then the non-violent ones are also there. So you could have an age limit for each of these games. Talking about technology in the classroom. In what ways can technology in the classroom be helpful? It's quite helpful because it makes learning more engaging, right? And you can make sure that the children also participate. Apart from that, you're letting the students explore and you kind of expose them to technology, which is important because they'll be using it later on in their lives. Do you agree that students are often better at using technology than their teachers? Definitely, I would agree with that because my kids, they would say, oh, miss, it's here, it's there, you could do this, you could do that. For an example, Zoom, I didn't know that the participants could record it. I only thought that I could record it. But then said, oh no, teacher, you need to go here and then we can record it if you allow us to do it. So learning is always good. And I think they know better than me most of the times when it comes to technology. Do you believe that computers will ever replace human teachers? I don't think so. Because you need a human touch and computers cannot make all decisions, right? Children need to be taught in certain ways. You need to be able to express and communicate to them. And I don't think all the functions that a teacher does could be ever replaced by a computer. Right, so I think we have come to the end of the lesson. Apart from that, we have come to the end of the last lesson in speaking, whereas in the advanced level, we were having a look at different speaking tips, the strategies, and then we were having a look at books 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 until 16, okay? So, what is important in your speaking tests, right? Now, I have done the vocab with you before throughout, the beginner level, intermediate level. And before, if you saw in the speaking lessons, I put up sample answers for you. But when it came to the Cambridge books, I avoided putting answers and I gave you guidelines, right? The reason is, you can't do a speaking test if you always have a structured answer here, right? And if I always tell you everything, you might never learn to speak independently. So remember to have a look at the speaking marking criteria. Always record yourself, right? Re-listen to yourself and see, okay, what words can you change, right? Are my grammar sentences correct? Are my structures correct? Okay, what can I change in my answer? Can I make it a bit lengthy? So part 1, yes or no, and you give a reason. But part 3 is not like that. You talk about the topic, you explain it, you give an example, and then you round off your idea. But in between, part 2 is different. It's timed, right? The examiner controls the time still. You have 1 minute to prepare. I've showed you how to make notes, right? And then you can start talking. Think about cohesive devices, discourse markers, fluency, pronunciation, okay? Learn and listen. Use the Cambridge Dictionary to listen to the sounds and the proper pronunciation. That's a great learning tool, and I think I've spoken about over and over again. I've spoken about it, right? I've showed you videos outside the context so you can learn from it, right? Real world examples. I've also shown you 2 actual practice questions, right? To show you the flow of the exam. Right? So I think I've given you a lot of insight for the speaking exam, and I hope you use it effectively and you get your desired band score, right? Now, some of you would wonder why I never spoke in Sinhala, very rarely, probably a few here and there. The reason is we're not going for a Sinhalese test, right? Ma hamadama Sinhalen kiyanaka purudunot, that's what you want to hear then, okay? So I don't want to give something that you would want to hear, but I want to give you something that you will benefit at the end of this whole course, right? So coming back to our lesson, we had a look at the use of technology. We had a look at fast food, rich people, right? Luxury items, summer, customer service, flowers and plants. We were looking at tourist destinations, attractions, right? And we were looking at, so tourist attraction was there, that we were looking at part 3 questions around that. And then, work, people we work with or study with, right? And we watched a video. So I think it has given you a good insight. We've had a look at all the practice books. Please feel free to use other resources as well online to have a look at questions that come up for the exam, right? You could have seen some of the questions were actually there in the videos as well. Maybe not the same, but similar topics, similar meaning, right? So with that, we come to the end. We had a look at speaking test 1, 2, 3 and 4 for Cambridge Book 16.